Hey guys, welcome to your 3.1 notes. In 3.1, we are starting to talk about relationships of angles, and then we will start getting into parallel and perpendicular lines as well. So in the figure, two parallel lines are intersected by a third line called a transversal. So these little arrows over here mean that these two lines are parallel, and this other line here is called our transversal. Okay. What we want to do with that picture is identify all the pairs of vertical angles. Okay, so it does say explain your reasoning, so tell me how you know angles are vertical. So I'm looking for things that are across from each other. So I want to identify all pairs of vertical angles. So to me it looks like angle 1, and angle 3. Then we have angle 2 and angle 4, angle 5 and angle 7, and 6 and 8. Okay, so there's all my vertical angles. Then using the same picture, I'm going to identify all of my linear pairs. So remember, linear pairs are next to each other, and they form straight lines. Okay, so when I look at my picture, I have 1 and 2, 2 and 3. I'm just going to go all the way around that first one. 3 and 4, and 1 and 4. Okay, that takes care of everything in that first set of 4 angles. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other set. So I have 5 and 6, 6 and 7, 7 and 8, and 5 and 8. Okay, so I have lots of linear pairs. Remember, linear pairs are just angles that are right next to each other, that together they make a straight line. Okay, so what we're going to talk about next are parallel lines. Parallel lines are two lines that do not intersect and are coplanar. Do not intersect and are coplanar. Remember, that means same plane. That's something we talked about in chapter 1. Okay, so two lines that are on the same plane that will never intersect. Okay, they are shown in the picture with the red arrows, and our symbol is two lines, just like this one, the upside down T we said meant perpendicular. Okay, two lines means parallel. Okay, then we have what are called skew lines. Skew lines are two lines that do not intersect and are not coplanar. So big difference here in parallel and skew lines are parallel lines are coplanar, skew lines are not coplanar. Then we also can have parallel planes, which are two planes that do not intersect. Okay, feel free to pause the video at any time if you want to look at diagrams or review what I have said. Okay, now we're going to look at a very important diagram. Okay, this diagram is of a cube. It says think of each segment in the figure as part of a line. Which line or lines or plane or planes appear to fit the description? Okay, this is something everyone messes up to start with. Okay, it says line or lines parallel to CD containing point A. That's major right there. So I need something that's parallel to CD that goes through point A. Okay, so in my diagram, the only thing that would be parallel that goes through point A is AB. Okay, my second part, I want something that's skewed to CD that contains point A. So it cannot be a line that makes up the top of my cube, because that would be in the same plane. It can't be a line that makes up the side of my cube, because that would be in the same plane. So something that contains point A that is not on the top of my box. Okay, so I can do either AH, I could do AG. Okay, those are my two options that would contain point A but not be in that top plane. Okay, my next one is I want something that is perpendicular. Remember, that's a right angle to CD containing point A. So I'm making that right angle. So I have AD. And the last one, I want a plane that is parallel to EFG, that bottom plane, something that's parallel to that contains point A. So that should be my top plane. So this would be plane ABC. You could use any of those 4 letters. You could do DAC, DAB. Okay. Any of those 4 letters up there. Remember, 3 letters make a plane. Okay, here we go. We've got a parallel postulate. If there is a line and a point not on that line, there's exactly one line through that point that would make a line parallel to my original. Okay, so if I draw any line and I pick a point way out here, I can only draw one line through that point that is going to be parallel to my original line. Okay, those end up being parallel. Okay, similarly, if there is a line and a point not on that line, so here's my line, here's my point that's not on that line, there's exactly one line that can be drawn that would be perpendicular to my original. Okay, so those angles are very important. Only one that can be parallel, only one that can be perpendicular. Okay, the given line markings show how the roads in a town are related to one another. Name a pair of parallel lines. So remember, when you are looking at a diagram, I never want you to assume anything. So this should be something that has the arrow markings. So I'm looking for 2 lines that are marked using arrows. Okay, do you guys see them right here? Okay, these are marked using arrows. So this would be MD and FE. Okay, I have a lot of people that say A to start with. A is this point way out here. So it's actually not part of that line. So just be careful. A is a point out there. Okay. Name a pair of perpendicular lines. So something that makes a right angle. Okay, this is my right angle in my picture. So making up that right angle would be MD and FB. Okay, and the last question says, is FE parallel to AC? And explain. So hopefully you can see that's not parallel. They would intersect eventually if those roads kept going. And remember, parallel lines could never intersect. Okay, here's some new vocabulary. This is the important vocabulary that you definitely need to study for the test. Make this into flashcards, whatever you need in order to know these terms. Okay, my first term at the very top, we have a transversal. This is a line that intersects 2 or more coplanar lines at different points. So I've labeled that in all of these diagrams with a T so that you can see which line is the transversal. Okay. Then we have 4 types of angles. These 4 types of angles are very important. So my first type is my corresponding angles. These corresponding angles mean that they have the same location. So this is in the upper right. If I look at that top X, this is upper right, and my 6 is also upper right. Okay, so they have the same location. Then we have alternate interior angles. That means they're on the inside of my 2 lines, but on opposite sides of my transversal. Okay, so notice they're on the opposite sides of that T, that line T. Then I have my alternate exterior angles. So this one, they're on the outside of my 2 lines, but still on the opposite sides of that transversal T. So alternate, I'm talking about opposite. Okay, interior inside, exterior outside. The last type of angles is my consecutive interior. This means two angles lie between, so interior again, remember between, but on the same side of the transversal. Okay, so they're both inside those two lines, but they're on the same side of my transversal. Okay, so what we're going to do now is just recognize those in a diagram. So I want to know all corresponding angles in my picture. So remember, that's anything that has the same location. So I know 1 is my top left, and then 5 is my top left. So 1 and 5 would be corresponding. Then I would have 2 and 6, 3 and 7, and 4 and 8. Okay, then you're going to have your alternate interior. So I'm thinking inside my lines and opposite sides of the line. So I have 2 and 7 and 4 and 5. Okay, then I have alternate exterior. So outside of my lines and opposite sides of my transversal T. So angle 1 and angle 8, angle 3, and angle 6. And the last one, consecutive interior, remember that's inside, same side of the transversal. So this time I have angle 2 and angle 5, and angle 4 and angle 7. Okay, now I've got to classify the pair of numbered angles. So I just want to know, out of these 4 types of angles, corresponding, alternate interior, alternate exterior, consecutive interior, which kind I have in these pictures. So my first one, 1 and 5 are in the same location, top left, top left. So this is corresponding angles. And my second one, it looks like my numbers are on the outside of my 2 lines and opposite sides of that transversal. So this is alternate exterior angles. And my last one, they're inside the lines, still opposite sides of T. So this is alternate interior angles. And your homework is online. Please get started on Clever, and I will see you guys again Monday. Bye.